another day of art class. So I wanted to make this video for you all today to help you get started in terms of breaking down objects into different zones of value. So with that, let's get started. All right, so by this point, you should have all of your materials already set up and good to go. So by this point, you should have your reference photo, your value scale, a contour line drawing of the reference that you are working from, as well as your erasers, your pencil sharpener, the blending stumps, and the pencils themselves. So I know that by looking at this reference photo, I have at least a good 4 value ranges that I'm going to work from. And with your value scale, I know I told a lot of you a bare minimum of 5 because I knew that you would be working with deciding which values would go where for breaking down your objects. So with that, I know I wanted to at least break this down in terms of zones of different value. So to do that, so you can see how I'm going to break this down, is I already know the vast majority of my bottle is going to be black. So I'm just going to designate and outline the parts of the bottle that I know that are in black. But I also know that the other value that I'm going to have is white. So I'm going to find all the white parts. And I'm also going to find what I call the midtones, or the gray parts. So because my chalk marker is a little thick for that point, I'm going to break it down here as well, knowing that by breaking this down, this means that I have gray values that I need to look for as I'm drawing my bottle. I can come back and see there are little bits of highlights. I'm going to come back and indicate to myself, okay, this is where I need to be mindful of where the white is. If it helps you too, another thing that you can do at this point in time is start labeling them by values of the value scale. So I know that white is going to be number 1. So I'm going to mark it as 1, kind of like a paint by numbers. I know that black is the darkest. On my value scale, that's 9. So I know I'm going to put a 9 in that space. And the gray areas as well that I see, they're going to probably be closer somewhere between, I want to say anywhere from the 5 to 7 range. But I noticed that the values here tend to be a little bit lighter than the values that are back in the top capper right here. So I'm going to say that that's probably closer to about a 7 based upon what I have on my value scale. And if I had to take a guess, I would range here about 5. Okay, so now that I have that determined, I can go back in to my contour line drawing and figure out where I want to start placing what I just broke down in terms of the shapes and draw them onto my contour line drawing. So at this point, you can see that I've already laid in my darkest values. And with that, already laying in the darkest values really helps my highlight, or my value set at number 1, to really pop. So already 2 of my values are pretty well done at this point. So now the only other values that I necessarily still need to worry about are the values that are located on top of the lid right here, as well as the ones that are in kind of like this mid-tone as well. So with that, I'm going to go back in to the top of the bottle. This time, instead of using a 9B, because I know that that is the darkest pencil that I have, I decided to knock it down a grade by using a 5B pencil. And this time, you'll notice I am going to be cognizant of the fact that because this is so dark, I'm going to start by holding my pencil probably closer towards the back, just because I know that that is automatically going to give me a lighter value altogether. And I can go back and having my reference by side, I can just kind of see, okay, that's roughly what I'm looking for. All right, so now that I have my reference photo mapped out, I've gone back in to my contour line drawing, and I'm finding something that generally resembles what I have drawn in my reference photo. So now I'm ready to start adding the values. So I know for certain, because the bottle in its darkest areas I've labeled as a 9, that is going to be the darkest point on my value scale. So with my 9B pencil, I know at this point, this is where I'm going to put in my darkest values. And just as we talked about before, so my value is laid down close to the cap. And just to kind of refurbish some ideas taught in the first video that I showed you, I'm just going to go back and use my blending stump to lighten and smooth over some of those areas. I'm going to drag also some of it too into this little highlight area as well. So I know that it's not going to be as bright as what is here. So with that, I'm now ready to lay in the last bit of my values. So I'm now going to use the 3B pencil, which I know is lighter than my 5B. And again, I'm going to hold it back a ways, so I'm not pressing too hard. And I know that automatically is going to give me a lighter value closer to what I'm looking towards. Okay. And I think I'm going to add some here too. And now going in with my blending stump, I'm going to help to tie it all together. Alrighty though. But yeah, I might come back in, maybe with the pink pearl just a little bit. Help refine that area. But as you can see side by side, I feel pretty good about that. I feel pretty good about having zoned out my values, using the value scale and the different pencils in order to really get that bottle down. So with that, I'm going to have you try to draw a bottle of your own using the skills used in this video. I'll see you guys later.